Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, hip hop lifers, doing time, the Lifers cast. We're back at it again. I'm your host,
Yeah.
Dick Rubin. Got my co host, Uncle Evan. What up, bro?
How are you? How are you?
Oh, another day in paradise, living the dream. Getting ready for all this cold weather. You know what I mean?
It is
It
brick
was a
out here.
good day today, though. It was a good day. It wasn't too bad, you
Good,
know?
good,
But
good.
without further ado, we're going to jump right into this one. We have Boston music icon. He's been working with everybody from that scene, the Archetype.
Yo, the list is unbelievable on this man's resume. It truly is. It's a pleasure to have you here, Archetype. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing time with us. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Now, we usually just jump right into it, and for anyone that doesn't know who you are, give us a little backstory.
Well, I go by the Archetype. I'm a music producer based in Cambridge, Mass, which is in the greater Boston area. I've been doing it for, I don't know, professionally, I've been doing it for about 20 years now. 20, 21 years, something like that. And I work with a lot of folks from out here, a lot of folks nationally, some folks internationally. And yeah, I don't know. I run a recording studio out here as well called the Bridge Sound and Stage. And that's kind of where that's my home base. That's kind of where I operate out of. And yeah, I don't know. Just been making a lot of music.
That's dope. Like I said, you definitely have a hell of a resume, my friend. It is a pleasure to have you sitting here with us. Let me ask you your first question, really. What do you think was the most impactful accolade that you have in your career on your resume? It doesn't even have to be on paper, just something for you that was like, oh, this is why I do it.
It's tough, man. There's like different moments. There's I don't know if I could list just one, because like different things mean, different moments meant different things for me.
Absolutely.
I like, the first time that well, frankly, I mean, the first time that I really got to work with anyone, who just, I mean, literally anyone. Making beats was really kind of a hobby for me, and I consider it a hobby that's snowballed out of control. And I'm very blessed to be able to have this be my career. But so the first time, I think it was my homie Carolina Black was the first dude who ever really, it was either him or my homie Pablo were the first dudes who ever really were like, yo, can I rap on these beats? Like, is that something that can be done? And it just never even occurred to me. I just made beats because I like making beats. So yeah, so I feel like that was a moment. I feel like, after that, working with Jukes, Rusty Jukes was kind of like one of the first industry cats to like give me a shot. I was trying to kind of break in and work with some folks who were a little more established, and he saw something and heard something in me, and gave me a shot, and that really opened up some doors for me, because Duck Down was a label I really looked up to and really admired all the artists on, and were fans of, and still are fans of, and so that put me in that world in a way that was very real, and that was a big moment. Working with Vinny Paz was a moment, because I grew up, living, I loved Jedi Mind Tricks like throughout my high school years, and so when Vinny reached out to me, that was like kind of a surreal moment, and
Hell yeah.
it was a Facebook message too, so it was like the most like, like kind of crazy. Like I was like, how am I getting a Facebook message from Vinny Paz right now? That's crazy.
Like you had to check and see if he was getting catfished.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, this just seems like surreal, and then he was like, yeah, man, I got Scarface on the joint. And I was like, yo, this is just what is going on right now. So that was a moment.
Wild. Because
yeah,
I mean, you definitely you have like this Vinny and all right, there's some joints on there, but to have Scarface on your resume,
It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, it's like one of the greatest legends of all time, you know? So and then going up on Sway in the morning was like a really surreal moment. That was like, you know, because I mean Sway, what Sway has meant to this you know, this culture and this industry that we work in is just, I mean, he's like he's you know, he's just
one
pinnacle.
of the ultimate keepers. He's one of the ultimate keepers ever.
Incredible, you know what I mean? So you know, and for him to like, you know, be real and all, you know, when I met him, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to like, you know, introduce myself. I mean, he knew everything about me. It was crazy. I mean, he was reeling off my resume to me, you know, and I was like, this is crazy. This is wild, you know. So
that is pretty wild when your idols know you for your work, when you're like, dude, just shut up for you.
Yeah, crazy, man. And you know, and there's a lot of others, you know, meeting Premier and you know, after he had just spun the record and him being like, yo, I love the work, you know, meeting, you know, Lethal and him being like, I'm a fan of the work that you do, you know, all that. So there's a lot of them, you know, it's like a lot of these like people I grew up listening to and being able to like, you know, spend a little time with and have those full circle moments. Those every time one of those things happens, it's like, you know, it excites the kid in me that started this. The whole thing started with me just loving this shit and just doing it for the love of it. And so when those moments get to come around again, it's always super surreal and cool.
Those you say making beats was a hobby.
Yeah.
I look back in your history and you came from a rock and blues background, no?
Yeah. So I came up, I mean, music was kind of always in my life. My dad really like felt like music was important. He played the piano a little bit. But we just had instruments in our house because he just believed that like art and music in general was just so important, you know? Right. So, you know, we'd have little like, you know, hand drums and shakers and all kinds of little just random things, you know, that I was playing with as a kid. And he actually at one point even opened a music school because he believed so much in, you know, he's an architect. He's not a musician, you know what I mean? But he was just like, he wanted there to be a good music school in the community and felt it was important. And so, you know, so that was just like laid the foundation for how much music was a part of my upbringing, you know?
Right.
And for me, I kind of like really fell in love with like really all American roots music. I just kind of went through, you know, I started with like the early blues work and then just kind of like I went through like obsessions through all the decades leading all the way up to hip hop. I mean, and it was like hip hop. When I got to hip hop really kind of late. It was really in high school that I finally was put on to, because I grew up out in the sticks, you know what I mean? So I'm not a city boy. Well, I was born in New York City, so I am a city boy at heart, but like my folks moved out to the woods, you know, when I was about, I don't know, 6 or so. And I was raised out there. So I didn't have access to things, you know, that a lot of folks had access to in the city. And so I was kind of put on to, I really only got what I, you know, what filtered out there. And when I say the sticks, I'm talking like way Western Mass, not Worcester, not like, you know, for anyone who knows the area, like Western Mass for Boston folks is like Worcester, which is really 45 minutes. There's a whole nother hour and a half of the state.
Oh yeah.
I'm all the way out by the New York border. So it's like really the woods.
You're talking like Oneonta.
What's that?
You're talking like Oneonta and shit, like Florida.
Well, no, because that yeah, I mean over there, yeah. I mean I'm talking more like Pittsfield, that area, Pittsfield, Mass. Okay. You know, was kind of one of the bigger cities out there. I was in this tiny little small town called West Stockbridge, so like it's literally the last exit on the pike before you hit New York. But so you know, exposure was a tough thing. I didn't have access to as much, and people were, you know, it was hard to find things. And so I you know, the hip hop I knew was really kind of whatever was coming through the radio. And at that time, it was better than better than in some of the recent years. But even still, it wasn't like I didn't know about the roots. I didn't know about Black Star. I didn't know about, you know, Reflection Eternal. All like those. And when I got put onto that stuff was in high school, and that changed my whole world, because that was like everything I loved about all the music I, you know, through all the American music throughout all the decades were like was all in one place, and it was all collided there, and it was like it all made sense, because that was the hardest thing I had. I was like, I played blues, I played rock, I played funk, I played soul, I played, you know, all these things, and I couldn't figure out where I wanted to like live in those worlds. And like then hip hop came onto my plate, and I was like, oh, all of those things can live in one place, and that's hip hop. So for me, it was like a huge eye-opening moment, and it changed the whole trajectory of my life in a lot of ways. So
let me ask you this: what was the first album that baptized that just made you like, this is it? Like the very first album.
Well, so it's funny. So my boy Pablo took me to the record store, and he was like, "Look, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna tell you these records. You're just gonna buy them, and you're not gonna like ask any questions. You're gonna buy them, go home, and listen to them." So the first day I bought, let's see, it was Mos Def, Black on Both Sides, The Roots, Things Fall Apart, Reflection Eternal. Wyclif's The Carnival, Fuji's The Score, and Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Those 6 CDs came home with me, and that was my first inauguration into like that whole world of hip hop. You know, something it was a whole world I knew nothing about. And once I had that starting place, then it was just like follow the thread, you know, and you know, check the rest of the Roots back catalog. You know, look deeper into Mos Def and Talib Kweli. You know, that's how I found Black Star. It was just like, okay, all these things interconnected and woven, and it just basically it would be like the ritual of going to my tiny little record store, which had the smallest hip hop section ever, and just like buying basically whatever was there. Like I bought basically any CD that was in the hip hop section just because I was like, I need to know what it is, whether I like it or not. You know,
Right.
So. That was kind of how it all got started.
Now, we like to do a little segment around here called Tales from the Internet.
Cool. Okay.
It could be your craziest, weirdest, most stalkerish story that you've had any interaction with in this crazy World Wide Web we have going on here.
Tales from the Internet. Boy, I'm trying to think what, you know, I mean, I don't know if it's like crazy necessarily, but so my father's Hungarian, and this isn't necessarily crazy, but it's always kind of amusing, and also like I'm very humbled every time it happens. But my name is János, which is in Hungarian is John, and every now and then I'll get a message on Facebook from someone out in Hungary that's like, and there was one message in particular that I got that was like, it was pretty funny because, you know, it's always broken English because they're using like probably Google Translate or whatever just to try to make it work. And like I just got this message one day that was like, "Is it true?" And I was like, from some random person. I said, "Hi, is what true?" And he's like, "That American producer of Hungarian descent is working with legends like Slane and Rex in terminology." And I kind of chuckled about it, and I wrote back, "It is true." And that was the old story. And I don't know. I mean, it was like I said, it wasn't anything crazy, but it was kind of a funny story.
That man has been telling that story around campfires for years now.
Right.
I mean, it's cool, you know. It's like Hungary doesn't really have a ton of a huge hip hop scene, and it doesn't have a whole lot of claim to any real hip hop stars. So I think, but I think the hip hop fans out there are diehard, you know, and they love it, you know what I mean? So when they find kindred spirit, you know, they seek it out, and that's dope. So it was cool.
I find it really it's actually very cool that a lot of the fans and the folks from across seas are diehard fans.
Oh, you know, like it's crazy.
They love it, and they want to embrace it in every way, and not in a vulture type of way. They really want to know the steps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, and thank you.
Yeah, there's a reverence for art in general in Europe that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's why you saw like the writers like James Baldwin, you know, spending all that time out there. The musicians like Miles Davis, you know, spending all the time they did out there, because it's just there's a respect for the art forms in a way that is really you know, it's funny, man. Like there's like the age old thing, you know, like, you know, you get into music and your parents roll their eyes because they wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. You know,
Right.
that's such an American thing. You know what I mean? And it's like in Europe, there's such a respect for that out there. It's like, you're an artist. That's incredible. Like, that's good for you. Like, that's what a risk to take. What an immense, like, undertaking to take on. And like, that's just such a different way of looking at that. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, for hip hop, it's crazy, man. When we did my group Still Gold did a European tour out there, and it's just a different world, man. It's like, when you play stateside shows to audiences that don't know you, it's kind of like this very, like, even if they fuck with you, there's like this like pondering moment where they're like looking at you kind of, confused and like, I don't know these people. Well, I don't, and it's like stoic. No one's moving,
Right.
and that, we're used to that over here because that's how the crowds are. You go over there and it's like, I mean, they literally were saying USA, from the USA, on the bills. And people were coming solely because of that. They were like, we want to see this USA act, like, and they were losing their minds, and they obviously had never heard of us ever, so it was cool. It was a very different experience.
That's one thing you notice about around the world is that, especially with underground hip hop, is you can't see the acts live, so they actually support too. They buy all the merch. They buy every CD. They buy every digital download.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Actually, you went with Still Gold. I actually saw you guys open for Czarface, and excellent live show.
Oh, dope! Thank you.
It was really like, I'm like jaw on the floor.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I saw you guys at Culture Shock, Chachi Cavallo's event. It was
shit. That was a dope event. That was cool, man.
Yeah,
Chachi's man.
Chachi's a legend. Shout out to that brother. Yeah, I was actually on the bill earlier in the day. I stuck around and hung out and just like seen and it was very, like what he does during that is amazing. But nonetheless, wow, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So how'd that come about? Linking up with those guys.
Still Gold. That's kind of a funny story because like when I've been out in Boston working for some time, and I knew of Mo, because Mo been doing it for a long time and is well respected out here as an MC, and I was just a fan of his. Frankly, he put out this record with Rain called Life After God, and I just loved it. I was listening to it all the time, and we had these mutual friends that I didn't even know were mutual friends. They were homies from my hometown, and one of them was a drummer that was a little older than me and I had known from my hometown. And we were sort of just exchanging. He lives out in the drummer lives out in the Bay, and he was sending me, break beats that he was doing. I was making beats out of them and just flipping them and sending them back. And he was like, "Oh man, these are super cool, whatever." And he hit up Mo and was like, "Have you ever heard of this dude, the Arcitype?" And Mo was like, "Yeah, I think I've heard his name around a little bit, but I've never met him." And he was like, "You should try to see if you guys can link up. I think there might be something there." And then literally a few days after that, we happened to be in the same room together. And I had people, like I said, I was aware of him, and I was like, I would love to work with Mo at some point. That'd be super cool. And we just happened to be in the same room at the same time with another mutual friend we had, and they just kind of connected the dots, and we started talking a little bit. And he's like, I'm working on this other record with that same producer, Rain. It's our next record. I'd love to, see if you'd have any interest in helping us out with that. And so I jumped in and handled some of the recording. And I don't know about the recording. Maybe the recording was already done, but at least the mixing and mastering of that record. And I produced a couple extra joints on that were like sort of like a couple, like, they weren't bonuses, but they were like a couple of my joints got in there. And then after that, we started working on a record, Mo and myself, because the connection just felt like it was a good one. It like we enjoyed working together, and we started working on our first record. And then that became I didn't know if he sort of like he was like, I want to make this a group, not like Mo Pope and the Arcitype. I want to make it a group name because I think we can kind of grow it into something. So we came up with the name Still Gold. which has a whole backstory that relates to the Outsiders, and you know, and because that was kind of like a running theme that Mo really was working with, and it applied to kind of how we felt about what we were working on. And then over the years, things just kind of grew. Like, you know, we sort of started absorbing. It was really Mo and myself in the beginning. He has Christopher Talk, and is kind of the punk rock screamer in the group. He had been working with Mo for a long time. He's on our first record a little bit, but it's just kind of here and there. The second record was like, I wanted to absorb him and really get him to be more of a part of it. And on that second record, we started to do a little bit of work. I think there was a little peripheral work with John Ullman at that time, our drummer. And he was on maybe a couple songs. And then we kind of absorbed him. And then the next record was The New Normal. And we had our sax keyboard player, Tim Hall, kind of on a couple records here or there sprinkled within. And then now we absorbed him. And so now we're a 5-piece, and you know, we'll see what the future brings. So,
that's wild that I'm talking with you right now, because I got your vinyl in my box. There's no
dope. That's what's up, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's dope. And the way that you said you packaged it separate from Arcitype too, you know, that's really incredible marketing move and branding in a sense, because you can separate the two. You have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, like, you know, and it's easier to, I think, also let it be its own thing, you know, so that people sort of we really could make it, you know, it wasn't like, well, here's what Mo Pope and the Arcitype sound like together, like with the preconceived notions of what Mo brought to the table and what I brought to the table. It was like, this is this new thing, and it can exist in its own realm, in its own way. It doesn't have to like be attached sonically to anything else I do or anything else Mo does, you know, and it can really live in its own. And we're trying to continue to, you know, with each album, we've tried to like make sure that it's something different from the last and something different than what we've done before, and pushes into new territories. And, you know, I think that we just dropped a new record in November called Rock Boyega, and that one I think is, again, like pushes the envelope for our sound and into new directions and new ways. So
that's always dope, because you guys are very musical, very musical.
Yeah.
Now let me ask, be it that you are such a trained musician, you are also an engineer, correct?
Yep. Engineer. Was that
MC? You make beats, engineer. How frustrating is it when you have to record something that you don't like?
You know, it can be frustrating. It depends. I think, you know, for me, it's actually not so much about whether the content is something I don't like. It has to do more with the attitude of the people I'm working with. That's the harder thing. Because at the end of the day, we all start somewhere, you know.
Absolutely. We all have a stick figure.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And so if the attitude is from the artist that I'm working with is, how do I grow? How do I develop this? How do I make this better? How, you know, I know that I'm not where I need to be, and I know that it's going to take time. I understand that, but I want to do the work to get there. Then it's actually not frustrating. It's just a different stage. You know what I mean? It's not the stage that working with Mo or Slane or one of those things. It's a different process, right? Because I have to coach it harder. You know, and it's not going to be, you know, those guys can pick up on like refined nuances in a more, they're professionals. They've been doing it for years, so they understand it better. So when we're communicating, the communication is at a higher level. It's a more detail oriented thing. You know, when it's a newer artist, you know, as long as they're willing to learn and absorb and be open to that, and understand that they're a work in progress, then really the music itself can always get better. I'm not worried about that, you know, and I try to do my part to help make it get better. When the attitude is, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, I'm God's gift to earth, you know, and the music's trash, that's when it can get a little difficult, because it's kind of like, yo, man, like, all right, I gotta like listen to, you know, you stroke your ego the whole time while this shit isn't really all that, you know. but even still, even in those moments, you know, what I try to always do is I try to live into like, okay, you know, and this is how I approach music in general, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of hatred for or not hatred, but I'll say, like, you know, there's like the age old sort of like, oh, well, the new music is, you know, it's da, 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 and all that, you know. I think that there's always something that can be taken from any music. You know, I think there's, you know, whether it's even down to just simply tempos and rhythm, and, you know, there's energies in everything. And so everything has something to offer, even if it feels like it's a stretch, you know what I mean, to find it. There's something in there. And so I try to, that's like, I try to find that no matter what. Like, so even if the shit is kind of like not my cup of tea and it's a little rough and I'm like, you know, having a hard time, it's like, okay, so what is the thing that I can hang on to try to find the vibe and the energy and pull that out a little bit? And that's the thing that, you know, will always, it makes it like a, almost a little bit like a scavenger hunt, you know. So you end up like, and that will occupy me and distract me from, you know, maybe the ego that's flying off the chains behind the mic.
Sometimes. All right, one more, and this is just pertaining to you doing, you know, man with many hats.
Yep.
How do you focus on your projects, the engineering, other people's projects, and still give it enough care? Because me personally, I feel like if I'm rapping, then I'm rapping. I'm not doing nothing else.
Right.
You know, if I'm producing or if I'm DJing, that's what I'm doing. You know, and I'm trying to find within myself even how to be able to maneuver through so many things that I do at once while still keeping it up to par.
Yeah, you know, I think for me, it might just be personality stuff. You know what I mean? Like you said, for you, you need to kind of dive into the one thing and focus on it. For me, I think that I thrive in the like, all right, well, you know, in the morning, I'm going to be working on this music for this, you know, TV licensing, you know, because I do a ton of that stuff, you know. So like, all right, this TV show needs these songs done this way. And then I do some music for toy companies too. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to work on some toy company music. And then in the evening, I got Still Gold coming. Or maybe it's in the morning, I got to do licensing. And then I got a client, you know, that I'm working with in the afternoon, and then another client in the evening. And it's just the fact that it's always kind of it's like using different muscles. It's all in the same category of muscles, I guess, because it's all music, but it's like it's flexing different strengths, you know, and I have to use different muscles for different things, and for me that keeps it exciting and interesting, and actually keeps me energized, because it's not the same thing over and over again, you know. Sometimes that routine, you know, like it's tricky because, like, you know, the concept of getting locked, you know, people are like, let's lock in for a week straight. I can be cool with that. I have to really love what we're working on, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I couldn't lock in for a week straight on something that I'm not feeling. That would be like torture for me. You know what I mean? I could work on it every day, but if I can like bounce around and do a few other things that day, that will keep me refreshed for the thing that I'm working on every night, you know, that week, you know, for example. You know, there's certain things I definitely could lock out for a full weekend and just get absorbed in, and just, you know, like, but those are the things that are nearest and dearest to me, like, you know, like Still Gold, like the work I do with Slane, you know, there's a few other artists I work with that I work very closely with, and those are the ones that I could see myself diving in for a full block out like that, and really coming up with good work and keeping the energy up. You know, I used to do that with an artist, Jared Evan, you know, this dude, you know, who you guys may or may not know. He's done a couple records with Static. He did like a 3-album series with Static called Boom Bap and Blues. And he's just a phenomenal artist, kind of a rapper, singer hybrid. He's kind of like the Boom Bap Justin Timberlake. That's what I've always kind of called him. He's super dope. And like, that guy's like my little brother, man. Like, and he used to come up from New York and he'd stay with me for like 4 days. And we would just like, we did a couple projects called The Art Form of Whatever. And there's a volume 1 and a volume 2. And those projects were always created over the course of 4 days. We just lock in and make the whole thing then. And it's, they're interesting because he's one of those people I could do that with. Like, he likes to go into different directions and different places and experiment with shit. So it keeps it interesting. So
we have another little question that we like to ask around here. It's called "What's your issue?" It could be anything. Anything you want to get off your chest about the world. Anything small, anything big. Archetype, what's your issue?
Man, I gotta see, like, not like, I gotta pick one. That's tricky. You know, I'm just gonna go with I just wish everyone would be a little bit kinder to each other and a little more patient with each other. That's an issue I have. You know what I mean? But um but and that's probably over an overarching theme overall. But there's other issues I got. Like, man, I wish people would like not put me on hold when I got a call, like everybody. I mean, like doctors and insurance companies and everything. I'm like tired of waiting on hold. Fucking hey, my God, I'm on hold. And the hold music is awful. So Jesus, like, let's get that shit sorted out.
Right, you got to contact somebody and make some hold music.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I actually, oddly enough, I have done that for one company. There was someone I did do that for, but yeah, man. I mean, like that shit drives me crazy. I can't, you can't ever get anybody on the phone and all that kind of shit. That shit drives me crazy. So.
Yeah, it's
Brad, what's your issue?
My issue for today.
For today.
Today. I gotta say, you gotta pick one. That's the thing. Kind of along the lines of like the be kind and be patient, and
man.
It's like when friendship,
Yeah.
Don't blow your people off. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, man.
Be kind to your people.
We're all going through shit, everyone's going through shit. So let's just exhibit a little patience for each other. You know what I mean? We're all doing the best.
I'm gonna go completely left from you guys, and my about being impatient. All right, if you drive on the far left lane on the highway and you drive the speed limit, get the fuck out the way.
Oh yeah,
I'll give you that. That drives me crazy. Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, I low key have like crazy road rage. I really like this shit drive me crazy because like nobody knows how to drive. It's wild. So
if you drive on the lane to the left, slow, you eat black licorice, drink Schweppes. Get the fuck off the road. The fuck off the road.
For real. That and when you're getting on the highway, get up to speed.
Oh yeah, for real.
Don't be doing 35 on the on ramp, please. I hate that shit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That really bothers me. So, what would be your holy grail to work? Who you want to work with most, alive or dead?
Oh wow, alive or dead? I mean,
yeah, we're gonna throw it all out there.
Dead. I mean, dead would be Jimi Hendrix. That's like pretty much a no-brainer for me on that. Alive. It's tough because it's sort of like. I mean, in the hip hop world, it would be Kendrick. Kendrick to me is I just fucking love that dude. He's just willing to go in such creative directions, and I don't know. I think he's brilliant. But then in other directions, it's like I'm a huge Bon Iver fan. I think his music is incredible, and the production value is amazing and immaculate. I'm a really big Death Cab for Cutie fan, so I would love to work with Ben Gibbard and the rest of the band. I think they're incredible. There's a lot of acts in different worlds. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, and I'd love to work with them and bring them into my world. That's the thing. It has, it's not like I want to. I think a Death Cab for Cutie hip hop album hybrid thing would sound out of control dope. You know what I mean? And it's something I can hear. I don't know if it's something that anyone else can hear, but I could hear it, and then and then we can bring it to the world. So just Ben, whenever you got a minute or two, you just hit me up and we'll figure it out.
Now, another question going the other. Go ahead.
Who was the dead artist that you said you would work with?
Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
Yeah. Jimmy. I mean, that guy, like, dude, that dude made nothing that makes sense. I mean, he made oh my God, notes that don't go together work. He's just, that brain was incredible, man. He just to go. That's like that for me is really like, every time I go back and listen to him, I'm just more and more blown away by what this guy did. So, yeah, that guy's a no-brainer for me.
All right.
We're gonna go the other way now with that question. What was your worst experience in the studio? You don't have to say any names, but
I can tell you my worst experience, and it has actually nothing really to do with the artist. It was a circumstance I was in, and it was tough. I was, and it just stands out because it just was. Oh man, it was such an unbelievably stressful night. Oh my god. I was working with King Los. He was in the studio, and this is nothing about King Los. He was fine. It was great to work with him. It was kind of funny though, because he one thing I will say is he had a masseuse, like a personal masseuse, show up and set up the table out in the live room and just kind of hang out waiting for him to get a massage. And then like she was there for like 5 or 6 hours or something and like never gave a single massage, and then just like packed up and got paid and like went out. It was like such a random thing.
it was an easy day.
Yeah. But the thing that happened was, what was that?
You're doing big things when you can call him a masseuse.
Oh yeah, no, I mean King Los is, it was doing it at the time. So but what happened? Literally, I'm recording this dude's first take, and all of a sudden something really weird happens with the computer. I had to restart the computer, and my drive that I recorded everything on wasn't loading, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm in the middle of the session, so I really can't spend much time figuring it out. Like this dude's in the booth, I got to get him recording. So I kind of pivot and just put it on a different drive. We have multiple drives on there, and I'm working on that drive. But all the while I'm working, I'm trying to get that drive to load, and I can't figure out why it's not loading. And so we get through the session, and I'm stressing about this because it's my main working drive with all my session work. And so we wrap up the session. King Los leaves, and I basically have to now dive into what the hell's going on with this drive. And I spend the next 4 hours trying to get this thing loaded, and only to basically learn that this drive has completely shit the bed. And I had to send it out to a hard drive recovery place. I was about to put up 5 figures to get that content back, because there was so much client work on there that was like really valuable and really like not even my work. It was like other people's work, so it's like I can't even put the value on that because it's not mine. And we got word back from the hard drive recovery place that my data was as good as dust. And so I had to basically then reach out to every client that I had just lost project work for, and basically make up, like do sessions over on the house to try to make up for things. And it took 5 years
Jesus Christ.
to finally get the last, to be rid of all the the lost file pain, and the last file that I was searching for at the time, when the very last one that felt the effect of it was actually the Anti-Hero album with Slain in Terminology. There was one song that they had recorded. They were like, yo, I gotta punch this one word term set, and so I was like, all right, let me pull up the session. Couldn't find the session anywhere, and realized that had been on that drive. And so I looked at both these guys, and I was like, they were about to hand in the album. I was like, I need you both to re-record that song right now, because I don't have it. And they were like, you got to be kidding me, dude. So,
I mean, I'm sure people had some emotional attachment. There was some. How did you deal with the fact that you knew that a lot of them were going to be upset?
It was like I just knew I had to eat the shit. You know what I mean? It's like I was my bad. There was no other way. So I was like, look, I will make it up to you. I mean, I will give you the time for free. I will get it all back. Whatever I can get back. I hadn't lost everything. It just we had a file backup system. It had just been down for whatever reason. The file backups had been down for a few months, and so that's what I lost was a few months of work. So it wasn't everything, but it was enough to feel the effects, and it took me a while to make up make it up to everybody. And, and now we've got more hard drive backup redundancies than you could possibly imagine. We got like, I think 12 redundancies on our studio, both locally and on the cloud. So it's like, I'm never going through that again. But that was without question the worst session. And like I said, not because the client, just because I was like, yo, this is the most stressed I've ever been in a session for a totally unrelated reason. So
good on you for making it up to everybody, though.
I mean, we got to make it right. You know what I mean? It's like they came to me and trusted me to handle something. And, even though it wasn't I didn't do it intentionally, I broke that trust one way or another. So I had to make it right, so.
Exactly.
I appreciate everyone who riding with me, man. There was one cat in particular that was like a close homie, and we were like, I was going to master his album that week. And I had done all the mixing in the last 3 months. So like we basically were at square one of that album. So yeah, I was like, bro, we got to push that all back. Like his release got pushed back about 6 months because of it. Like it was, oh yeah, man, I felt bad for him in a major way.
Good.
Yeah.
What was your favorite project you worked on for someone else?
Oh man, I mean that's hard to say because there's a lot, like I've got a lot of artists that I work with, so like I've worked closely with Jared on music that we've done together, but I've also worked on his own music that he's done with other folks and put outside. He's done a lot of great music. I work with an artist, Rashid Chappelle, a lot, and he does great music. And I've done, I don't know, his last 5 or 6 projects I've mixed and added production and done all that. I'm currently working on a project for Slain that is not mine. That's a great project. There's a bunch. I mean, it's hard to whittle it down. I mean, it's like there's so many in so many different directions that are cool. A bunch of local artists who've done like just interesting, interesting projects that I don't know, the names aren't really notable, but they're really cool creative stuff. You know what I mean? And just did really interesting projects. So. I like working on anything, man. And especially with artists who are willing to like let me really jump in and get in there. That's always the most fun is being able to like bring other people's music to life in a way that they didn't even anticipate.
Who do you got your eye on locally?
Oh man, locally is crazy. There's so many dope acts coming up, in different directions. I mean, there's this kid Najee Janey, who I don't know if his name circles in certain circles. So I don't know if you guys have come across it, but he's this like immensely talented cat who he spits and that's dope, but he also sings and he's got a great voice, but his sense of music is just amazing. And it's like every time I hear new stuff from him, I'm like, it's like, all right, this is a hip-hop song. Then he's got a whole funk album that's like incredible, and he's like kind of got this R&B thing. He does writing for he does ghostwriting for a lot of folks, on label side of things. So he's pretty incredible. I mean, there's like, Latrell James is like just amazing all the way around. He's an MC producer from out here that has just been killing it. He did production on the JID album and the Earth Gang album that came out this year. He production wise, he's super dope, and then MC wise, he's up there with some of the best. So he's really great. I don't know. This is a lot of people in different avenues. I work with a young talent named Zola Simone, she's a pop singer and she's incredible, man. Oh my God, dude. She's like 19 years old and she just sounds like she's been singing for 30 years. So, I mean, she's just, and it has the musical sense of someone far more older than her and just like really sophisticated for her age, and she's actually down in New York at school now, but she's based in Boston generally. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening in a lot of different directions.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna start wrapping it up here tonight. You want to plug anything? We were big into shameless self promotion.
There you go. Well, yeah, I definitely. My group's still gold. We got the new album out, Rock Boyega, and that's STLGLD. I definitely, I'm super proud of that record. I definitely want everyone to check that one out because, I think it's something different, and it's something I'm super proud of. And then you know, if you're in the Boston area, you're looking to record, come see me at the Bridge Sound and Stage. That's my home spot, you know. And I don't know, just check out the catalog.
There you go. There you go. Again, thank you, Arcitype.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing time with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna let you get back to doing with business because you obviously are a busy man.
Indeed.
So again, thank you for doing time with us. Ladies and gentlemen, for Dick Rubin, Uncle Evan, we're out. Have a good night.
Take care.
Peace.